Welcome to the Decoding Story-Based Marketing Podcast. We're here to help you distill your brand message down to its most clear and powerful form.
Telling a story with your marketing is a great way to differentiate yourself, but it can be tough to do. We're here to share lessons learned about how to use the StoryBrand framework to stand out from the crowd. I'm Kristen.
I'm Annie.
And I'm Bo. In today's episode, we explore message clarity in the legal sector, why getting straight to the point is a non-negotiable. We're glad you're with us. Annie and Kristen, today we're focusing our discussion on the legal sector. And when you're dealing with legal matters, there's a lot at play in customers' mind and life. And I want to begin by hearing from you. Why is clarity and being direct so important when emotions are heightened for a person? When you're dealing with legal matters, emotions are going to be elevated. Why do you need to be direct and clear at times like that? Kristen, can you speak to that?
Well, anytime we're dealing with heightened emotions, whether that's very happy emotions or stressed emotions or fearful emotions, we can just sort of imagine that as a big fog that's around a person. That is a fog that is going to really create some barriers between what a person is communicating and what they're hearing. Like we know that, right? Like when the emotions are heightened, sometimes we don't hear exactly what someone else is saying. So this is really important when it comes to our marketing and how we're communicating, because you need to cut through that fog of emotion and leave zero room for confusion with a really, really clear message.
Good. Annie, what is unique about making purchasing decisions in the legal sector? How are purchasing decision-making processes different there than in another industry, for example?
The legal sector, marketing in that world is so challenging. First and foremost, there's a lot of different, industry foci. That's a fancy word, but a lot of different lawyers that focus on different types of law, right? So that's going to look wildly different across the spectrum. But, heightened emotions often do exist when you are thinking about any sort of legal challenge and you need to seek input on that front. So heightened emotions, absolutely like top of the game there. I think another big challenge that this industry is faced with when it comes to marketing is consumers are often very uneducated about what it actually takes to solve their problems. So when you think about like, oh my goodness, I need to seek a lawyer for whatever purpose, most people off the street just don't know much actually about the law. So I might know I need legal counsel or legal help, but what it takes to solve the problem, I really don't know much about. So when you combine the fact that my emotions are probably pretty high, I feel nervous, or I've got stuff going on that's making this a nerve-wracking or even scary process. And this is a topic that I know very little about. That means that you are marketing to people who just do not have their wits about them. So it creates for a very different type of marketing than perhaps when you're selling a product or you're selling something that isn't quite as emotionally charged. This is a really difficult area. You've got to cut through some of those emotions, cut through the noise, but also make sure that you are speaking to your audience at a level that they can really understand, which is probably very hard to do.
Mm-hmm. And one thing with that too, what you just said made me think of the fact that for a lot of people, when they're about to hire a legal professional, they're like waging a battle on two fronts. There's this idea of whatever the core problem is, it's at the core of whatever legal challenges they have. But I would say the legal system itself represents a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. So it's like the lawyer needs to be so clear, the attorney needs to be so clear with like, we're going to help you solve this legal challenge and we're going to help you navigate the system so you don't have to be afraid of what you're walking into. So I don't say that to mean like we have to talk about all these problems we solve, but just taking into account the fact that in the solving the problem, we are asking them to go on an adventure with the legal system that traditionally carries a lot of baggage for people. And most people don't know how it works. And so you're really asking them to trust you in a significant way to help you navigate that. So that's why like any fluff, any BS, anything that is intimidating, any insider language, you got to get it out because you're really asking people to trust you and you've got to be straight to the point and so clear about that.
With that trust, Kristen, I think not only is clarity so essential because you are asking these consumers to go on such a big journey with you, if you are not clear about how you operate, the services that you deliver, how you're different, you may risk people just price shopping. So I think that's another factor at play when consumers are making a purchase of something that they don't know a whole lot about. It can be really difficult to weigh their options and really make the best choice for them. And so whenever as a consumer, we don't actually know the right criteria to evaluate a product or service around, of course, we're going to immediately go to price. And so to avoid that sort of price shopping phenomenon, I think law firms really need to understand you're asking someone to come on a big journey with you and with the legal system. And if you don't clearly articulate how you can help guide them, the value that you're bringing, how you differentiate from other law firms, you're just going to get stuck in a price comparison. And no one who sells products or services want to get stuck there. So this is a unique industry where all the forces are working against you to just be compared from a price perspective, which doesn't do anybody good.
We have this term that we use, called the curse of knowledge, which is where, a brand or a business or a professional will know so much about their business and their industry that they have a really hard time stepping out of that and speaking in a way that their audience can understand. And I think this is as true in the legal profession as anybody else, because attorneys and their teams have spent years and years building up all of this hard-won expertise. But it also creates a lot of complexity where they will lose track of the fact that if they're an immigration attorney, what does their client really want is probably to seamlessly navigate a complex immigration system and reach their immigration goals. But they get caught up in all of this jargon. So I think that's the opportunity that we have here in this industry, and why we love working with attorneys so much is because when you can get out of that curse of knowledge and create simple, clear language that people in a heightened emotional state can respond, can understand, they really respond to it.
That's so good. I also feel like the legal sector is one of those unique areas where most of the clients you're working with would rather not be needing to do this, right? It's like, you're not selling vacation rentals where it's like, I'm excited to go. It's like, man, I had this car crash. I've got this this thing or, this legal thing. So understanding that for people, then bringing that clarity for them can be really helpful, I feel like, in that, right?
What a great point, Bo. Like no one wants to spend money on new tires, and nobody is very excited to spend money on an attorney like that, or on a legal situation. Nobody is pumped to pay a lot of money for that or some money for that. So what a great instinct that we need to acknowledge that the audience is not going to be really excited to purchase these products and services, but they are a necessity. And so that could really inform a story. That's a really cool insight, Bo.
Yeah. I wonder, what are some of the common challenges? And we've worked with lots of different, lawyers and law offices over the years. What are some of the challenges that you have found when people haven't leveraged story-based marketing? When they haven't implemented this into their marketing yet, what are some of the struggles that you've identified for companies? Annie?
The first that comes to mind, we've heard from a lot of lawyers who have struggled with their marketing, that they get a lot of inbound leads, but that those are the wrong kind of leads. So this comes back to the idea of a consumer base who actually doesn't know a whole lot about the, product or service that they're seeking. And so what that results in is, probably a lot of frantic searching for a lawyer who can help me with the need that I have right now, but not a lot of the understanding or nuance about how to find the right lawyer. So what that means from a law firm's perspective is, hey, they may be getting a lot of inbound leads, lead forms, or inbound phone calls, but if those aren't the ideal type of client for their service, then that's going to be a lot of wasted time on both parts. So one of the necessities of building a clear story, and doing it using this story formula that invites people into a story that they really feel a part of, the clarity here is important so that you can actually attract the right type of leads. So we hear a lot of law firms spinning their wheels saying, we're getting people coming to our website. They're just not the right type of leads for us.
One of the other common mistakes that I see, or why people need to do this, is they really, I find in this industry, especially, attorneys do really want to communicate their authority and the fact that they're very strong in a certain field. But again, because of the state that this client base is in, it can come off as very, very intimidating. So I see a lot of headers of websites that have pictures of courthouses up at the top. And a lot of times they're like from the bottom up. So it's like looking up at this thing, which is just like, which one of us like wants to be quaking in our boots looking up at a courthouse? So I think like really, this is where we can lean into that StoryBrand principle around positioning yourself as guide, where you have both empathy and authority. So have the authority. Watch out for the intimidation factor, but you can really help with that by weaving in some good empathy into the messaging. So I think really like making sure that you're not intimidating your audience and scaring them because they're already scared enough. I wouldn't say this to every single field, but it is important that you watch out for freaking out your audience with intimidation there.
Yeah, and even as we're thinking about, a potential client's mindset and where they are, Annie, what other factors should attorneys consider when thinking about their prospects' mindsets? What should we be thinking about in our messaging and our marketing?
Well, we've kind of already established like your consumer, the client mindset is certainly going to be one where they're feeling a lot of nerves. They really don't know exactly what it is that they are looking for. So, we hear from a lot of our legal clients and law offices that sometimes they come on too strong when they're talking with a client, or their clients get overwhelmed just within the sales process. So there's a component of the StoryBrand 7-part framework that I think can be really helpful here, which is called a process plan. So what this effectively says is don't take for granted that your buyer, your client, knows what it will look like to work with you, especially in this zone where emotions are heightened. They don't know a lot. They probably haven't worked with a lawyer before. So simply laying out, hey, here's what it looks like to work together. Step 1, 2, 3, and finding a way to do that and meet the consumer where they are in their journey can often reduce that barrier and reduce some of the anxiety in taking the next step. So interestingly, this is a challenge that also exists with a totally different world, like in the tech sector. When highly technical companies are selling their products, we see them skip over a lot of stuff and go straight to technical scoping. Hey, here are the features you need. Here are the modules you need. This is exactly what you need to be successful. And it's like, okay, hang on. First, what problem are you solving? And what do you actually do? There's a lot of steps that get skipped there. And I think in, the legal sector, the same thing can happen where it can feel high pressure, high stakes. We got to move quickly. We're going to go straight to here's the plan and here's the strategy and here's what everything looks like and here's the price. But if you do that, you skip over a lot of really important steps to guide a scared, sometimes helpless person through the story and through the information they need to then be able to palette all of the big picture scoping and details. So a process plan, which is just simply, here's what it looks like to work together. You can infuse that with empathy, which is, I know how overwhelming this can be. I know that this probably feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders right now, but this is what it's going to look like to work together, is one way to leverage this framework and to really unlock a little bit of reduction in that extra noise and anxiety to ease people into the process of working with you.
Well, and I think even just asking that question of who's your client and what is their mindset is really critical for attorneys, because as we know, there are just a ton of different areas of practice, and some are incredibly emotionally charged and reactive and quick. Some are not as much. And sometimes the mindset may not be scared or intimidated. It may be angry, or it may be focused, or it may be determined. Whatever it is, that's why it's so important, especially to really dig into your own area of practice and create a message that reflects that, is to take the time to think about, are they feeling this way generally, or are they feeling this way? So, it may be a variety of things, but just taking a beat to name that, and then you can craft really compelling messaging to take, wherever they are in the spectrum of emotion, really craft a powerful story that you can engage with them there too.
Something that I don't know that we've seen enough of in the legal sector when we've worked with businesses there is, taking the time to go through a very intentional exercise to identify their ideal client profile. So most law offices know, hey, we deliver criminal law and we specialize in this. And so they are certainly segmenting their audience and who they're looking for. But by doing so just from the perspective of my law practice does this, you're missing out on the critical component of, well, what is the mindset of your prospective client, right? Like, yeah, we get it. They need criminal law and your specialty is like courtroom cases and, whatever that might be. But you're so right on that the mindset could be vastly different of somebody who needs a criminal attorney versus looking for an estate planner. So really getting into the mindset and building a robust ideal client profile, ICP, that isn't just focused on what you deliver, but truly is about the mindset, the circumstances, the problems that your consumer, your client is experiencing. That I think is an often missed step and can go extremely far in helping to make sure that your marketing finds the right type of people.
That's great. Kristen, when we're thinking about clarity and being direct, where do we take referral partners into account here?
Oh, I love talking about referral partnerships and attorneys because one, most attorneys are highly dependent on referral relationships. I mean, by all means, get your marketing on lock, have a good website, play that SEO game, do what you need to do there. But most people, I would say, find their attorneys when someone says, hey, you need someone for this, I'm going to refer them over to you. Referral partnerships are critical to the success for most attorneys. So because of that, you have to think of this from a marketing mindset. And you almost think of building that referral partnership and think of what kind of marketing strategy are you implementing to win and keep those referral partnerships, because just because, maybe someone's referred to you once doesn't mean they're going to continue to do that. So I would really think about if that's an area that you need to grow in your referral partnerships, go through the exact same exercise that we recommend for marketing to getting, new customers, which is who are they? What do they want? What problem can you solve for them? What's the plan for working together? What action do you want them to take? What are the stakes in the story? Go through that process of creating that story and then think about, and where do I message that? Do I need to send an email? Do I need to go meet them? Do I have a brochure I can send them? But really just leverage a powerful marketing strategy to build and then grow those referral relationships. And just like I just said a minute ago, we believe that marketing and retention have to go hand in hand. Just because you've won a customer doesn't mean you have them forever. So with referral, because a lot of attorneys may not have long-term relationships with their clients. Some may, estate planning, some of those, but hopefully not criminal defense. There's a lot that you're going to finish that relationship and then it's over. But with referral partnerships, you want to think about once you've won them, what is your messaging and relationship building strategy to continue that and to grow that and to strengthen and deepen it? So I would say you go through the same marketing process, but it's almost going to be equally, if not more effective, to focus in on those referral partnerships, grow them, and then that creates long-term sustainable sources of clients for your business.
I think there's another big roadblock that a lot of law firms hit when they think about building out their referral base, their referral partner channel, which is those referral partners can be some of your biggest advocates, which is awesome because that's a huge opportunity, right? There's also a downside to that, which is you have to entrust your referral partners to communicate effectively about your business to prospective clients. So not only do you have to work really hard to build a, marketing engine to get and keep referral partners and make sure that they really, know the value and are with you, they also then have to go out and market your business to the people that they talk to. And so, that often happens in a 3-minute phone call or a quick text thread when people, who they know are looking for legal services and, they're going to fire off your name. So I think, a lot of law firms don't necessarily take that extra step in their marketing to equip their channel partners, their referral partners, their advocates with the information they need to successfully advocate on their behalf and sell correctly. So that's like a whole other, there's so many multiple layers of marketing strategies that law firms need. And I think it can be overwhelming. But when you break it down in this way to think about, we have to gain and keep our referral partners, and we have to really market them and, build a retention plan around it. Then we need to equip them with what they need to effectively sell our services. And then you've got, the top of the funnel marketing that you want to do out there to the world to acquire your own clients. It's a lot of pressure on law firms' plates.
Yeah, that's so profound that really the goal is to be so clear and direct in your messaging that not only can you and your employees articulate who you are, what you do, why you do it, and how a customer can engage with it, but it needs to be so clear and direct that your referral partners can do that as well, right? Are you so clear in your messaging that people who don't actually work for you but work with you can communicate your messaging effectively as well? That's a profound thought, Annie, that I think is big.
Well, the other night at dinner with my husband and my 2 kids, we played a game of telephone, which was mostly them laughing because they got to say potty words to us as we went around the circle. And it was very fun to see how with 4 people that are sitting around a table together, how things fall apart as they get through the game of telephone. It was very entertaining. Kids loved it. But I think that what happens a lot of times can happen with just referral relationships. And as they're telling people about them, there's a game of telephone effect. So we can mitigate that game of telephone effect, I would say, with 2 things, which is 1, a solid, clear message where there's not a lot of room for confusion, and collateral that you can equip someone with. Just like Annie, you were saying, like, how do you equip them to share that? So, a million ways you can do that, whether that's talking points, a PDF, whatever. But those are kind of 2 great formula pieces to eliminate the bad game of telephone that can happen in a lot of those kinds of relationships.
That's great. Well, hey, I'd love to hear from each one of you as we are wrapping up our conversation. What's just the one piece of decoded magic? What's the one thing on this conversation specifically for those in the legal sector? One thing that you've heard or you've been thinking about for clarity and being direct that you want somebody to take away from this and implement today in their messaging?
I mean, I have to say at this point, like, the name of the game is don't leave opportunity on the table with a game of telephone. Like, just, you have to have that in your mind every time you do marketing, that you have to be so clear that you are not only feeling clear about what you communicate, you're not only feeling like the first reader, the first consumer is clear about what you communicate, but that you are equipping them to then go out into the world and communicate on your behalf. So a game of telephone is what can just trash the whole thing. And if you use that almost as a lens about how clear you have to be, that's what's really going to set you up to win in the long term.
Great.
And for mine, I would say, anytime because we said, like, why clarity is non-negotiable when it comes to your messaging for law firms. Anytime we're talking about negotiation, I feel like the first thing you have to do is identify the boundaries. How far are we willing to go? Let's clearly paint the boundaries, because if you don't have that clear, you're going to get taken for a ride. So when it comes to your marketing, create your boundaries with a good, clear brand script. It's going to remove guesswork. It's going to remove extra work to try and reinvent the wheel every time. So I would say, like, that's step 1 and the most foundational thing that you can do. And I know that teams at law firms wear a lot of hats, a lot of hats. So let's remove some of the effort by creating that good, clear brand story that you can infuse everywhere. And again, just make sure you're very clear on those boundaries of your messaging, because it's going to make life easier for everybody.
That's great. Well, at Decoded Strategies, we love to help our friends in the legal sector get a clear message, learn how to implement it into their marketing and their brand messaging. If you want to learn more about Decoded Strategies, you can check us out at decodedstrategies.com. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn. We're grateful that you are with us today, and we will talk to you soon.